Coming up on Mountain News this morning, Governor Andy Beshear pushes for extra investment in education to improve test scores across the Commonwealth. And a group of Eastern Kentucky businesses are chosen to take part in trainings and compete to win thousands of dollars in prizes.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning to you. Almost 6 o'clock here on this Friday morning. I'm Dakota Makris, and I'm happy that we made it to the end of the work week. Let's head over to Brandon this morning for a look at our forecast. But Brandon, before we get into the forecast, I just ordered me a bag of vanilla Tootsie Rolls.
You were over there talking earlier.
That's exactly what I was doing.
One of our a viewer had messaged you.
She did. She said, look on Amazon, and you know what? Thank you for giving me that tip. They'll be here on Wednesday, so I will report back.
after Halloween.
After Halloween. But I'll report back. It's fine.
There you go. All right. So this morning, it is a cool morning for some, a little warmer for others. But again, a few clouds still out there in some spots. I-75 at London this morning. No major issues. 42 as you head out the door. Down in that area, you see temperatures running from the 30s to the 40s, pretty much area-wide with the exception of Logan at 50 right now. 32 in Clintwood is our cool spot, and then otherwise I think basically looks like Pikeville at 47 is our next closest warm spot there. So again, a little cooler, so you'll need a little extra coffee as you head out the door this morning. Just be aware of that, and of course the next dozen hours, fantastic weather. The clouds will clear, lots of sunshine, and temperatures as you see those donuts clear away, top out in the upper 60s this afternoon. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you. Well, people in Knott County came together Thursday to remember those who died as a result of the flooding 3 months ago that hit our region and changed many lives forever. Our Jordan Mullins has more from the Knott County Central High School football field, where the long-term disaster team invited the families to release lanterns to remember their loved ones.
The Knott County long-term disaster team has come together following the flooding in late July to help their county and community. Now, after putting leadership in place, the team is ready to start making a difference.
Now we're at where we can do some action, and a lot of things are going to be going into place. We're starting to build houses.
On Thursday evening, the team invited the families of the 22 people who died as a result of the historic floods, making sure nobody was forgotten and releasing lanterns in their memory.
As far as what tonight goes, from my standpoint, it's a representation of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because nobody is left behind. Nobody was forgotten.
Letting the families and the community know that they have a support system.
We have to focus on that person and help them, because if we don't focus on the person and we lose their hope and they lose their hope, then we've lost the person.
A county coming together in a time of great need.
If we're going to get through this, we'll have to do it together. And I know it sounds cliche, but it's true. And there's a lot of things that divide us, but I think at the end of the day, we're all Knott Countyans, and that's what we got to look at. And that's our common goal, is we're Knott Countyans helping Knott Countyans.
Spreading love and hope to those who need it most. In Knott County, Jordan Mullins, WYMT Mountain News.
Well, the team's Emotional and Spiritual Support Committee Chairman Regina Terry says people are welcome to come out and share their story with the team at scheduled meetings. Those are held every other Thursday at 6 p.m. and you can find more on the team's Facebook page. Well, we want to remind you this morning, for everyone, the deadline for the flood victims in our region to register for FEMA help is today. You can get help to help registering for FEMA by visiting one of the disaster recovery centers throughout the region. If you cannot make it to a recovery center, there are still ways to get help. You can visit FEMA's website or call the FEMA helpline at 800-621-3362. A retired Kentucky Army Master Sergeant is working against the clock, trying to get enough votes to pass a bill in Washington. Leo Skinner is from Paris. He wants state legislatures to vote for the Major Richard Starr Act. Kristen Kennedy takes a look at the bill and the holdup in Congress.
The portraits and the accolades on the walls of retired Army Master Sergeant Leo Skinner's home paint a picture of his family's service to our states. Skinner's eye patch and hearing aid show that service more vividly. They reveal a title he's reluctant to use. disabled veteran.
I had a mild stroke coupled with an optic nerve stroke. Those can be attributed to a combination of things, according to my doctor: repetitive moderate traumatic brain injury from percussion in combat, stress from combat PTSD.
The Green Beret receives concurrent disability and retirement pay because he was in active service for more than 20 years. But currently, there are thousands of his fellow veterans not receiving full benefits. The Wounded Warrior Project estimates the number to be 42,000 veterans.
Go, 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 go!
Skinner's estimates are closer to 52,000.
I have a buddy from 3rd Group Special Forces who's a retired sergeant major who did 19 years, 224 days. And he is ineligible to receive concurrent retirement disability pay.
Right now, men and women must serve 20 years to get full retirement and disability pay. If they're wounded or medically retired before the 20-year threshold, a portion of their retirement disability pay is taken out of their paycheck.
It wasn't their fault that they were injured in combat, but yet because they didn't serve the full 20 years, they're having a direct offset, which is affecting them financially.
And retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Lloyd Jackson says affecting them emotionally.
I know hundreds and hundreds of veterans, and I can tell you from those folks, from those conversations, from doing therapy with those folks, from working with those people, this would be an enhancement that would not only help them in terms of their daily activity with their families and things like that, but it would help them go ahead and take some time to go ahead and seek the treatment that they need.
The social worker says some of his clients don't have time to get the physical or emotional help they really need because they're busy working another job to make up for the loss in retirement disability pay.
And they were forced out through a medical retirement. It's almost a levied tax against them.
Skinner no longer fights abroad. He fights from his home in Bourbon County. He's raising awareness of a bipartisan bill that would give his fellow service members the benefits he already has. The Major Richard Starr Act is a bill that, if passed, would give veterans with combat-related injuries full disability and retirement pay, regardless of the number of years they served.
Anywhere from an additional $1,000 a month up to $3,000, $4,000 a month, depending on time and service, depending on rank, and depending on percentage of disability that their branch of service granted them.
You know veterans that could benefit from this.
Absolutely. Yes. And I know they feel less value, I think, in their service, because this is almost like a deduction from pay, and I think it's more symbolic than financial to them.
So far, 3 Kentucky congressmen have co-sponsored the bill, including Representatives Andy Barr, Thomas Massey, and John Yarmouth. Neither of Kentucky's U.S. senators have co-sponsored the bill introduced in the Senate.
Is this money already there?
As far as I know, it is. It's already been allocated. They're just subtracting it out of people's checks.
Supporters are trying to get the Major Richard Starr Act to pass before the end of this congressional session in early January. If it doesn't, Skinner will keep fighting. In Bourbon County, Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
Kentucky senators' teams were contacted last week. Senator Mitch McConnell's team says he, quote, continues to review legislation to help Kentucky veterans, end quote. He did not comment on the Major Richard Starr Act. Senator Rand Paul's team did not respond to any requests. Absentee in-person voting is underway in Kentucky for those who can provide a valid excuse for why they can't vote in person. There's a list of those on govoteky.com, or you can contact your local clerk's office. And in less than 1 week, early in-person voting begins with no excuse needed. But you'll need to check locally for the places you can vote early. Election day itself is Tuesday, November 8th, when all polling places will be open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. local time. Governor Andy Beshear is pushing for more investment in education before the next General Assembly. On Thursday, he outlined his goals to create more funding. It comes after national and statewide test scores showed the tremendous impact of the pandemic had on students. Governor Beshear says the most recent data shows Kentucky has nearly 11,000 teaching vacancies, and that is in part leading to lower test scores being seen in the national report card and state report card.
I know our legislature would want to be thoughtful on this, but this is one they ought to be directly discussing, because that is a real way that we can ensure our teacher shortage is temporary and not long-term.
Well, the governor says the state has a tremendous surplus, and projections from this year show that will grow by 11% by the end of the year. He's calling on lawmakers to use that money to invest in education. Everything is online these days, and that can be a challenge if you live in a rural area like we do here in the mountains. Efforts to improve internet access in rural communities took a step forward on Thursday. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has announced $759 million in grants and loans to expand high-speed internet. The funds will target small towns and farm communities and will be distributed in 24 states, including here in Kentucky. Invest 606 announced the finalists for its Accelerator and Pitch contest. 9 businesses will take part in trainings and compete to win more than $30,000 in prizes. Now, the mission of Invest 606 is to bring out the best of businesses in Eastern Kentucky, specifically the ones that do so much for the community. Cold Country Candles here in Hazard is one of the 9 businesses, and owner Randy Gabbard says he is ready to burn through the competition.
I look forward to going through all the work it's going to take to be a number 3 finalist, hopefully, and it's going to be challenging.
The final pitch contest will be in Corbin next April.
6:10 here on this Friday morning. We are looking at a few clouds out there, but for the most part, it's not going to be a bad day at all. Again, satellite radar loop for the last few hours showing some of those clouds, but some areas a little colder, and we can tell where the clouds are not, like Clintwood over there at 32, the coldest spot in the region this morning, 39 Prestonsburg, 37 Hazard and Irvin, 39 Monticello, Williamsburg, and Jacksboro, 37 in Jonesville, 36 in Manchester, and 38 in Middlesboro. 69 this afternoon, a beautiful day out there. It's going to be sun and clouds, maybe a few more clouds this morning, but sunshine will take over this afternoon. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you so much. Well, coming up here on Mountain News this morning, we share the story of one of the longest rivalries ever to be had in college football history between the Bluegrass and the Volunteer State.